Are you afraid of losing your memory? Waking up one day and not remembering the faces of your family? Not knowing where you are? This is not a scary movie. This is the reality of millions of people facing dementia. And the scariest part, many don't even realize they are accelerating the process themselves. Every day at every meal, familiar foods are quietly destroying your brain. You may have eaten them today, or yesterday, or your whole life. What exactly are these foods? In this video, we'll tell you about the foods you should avoid. Watch the video to the end. It will be very helpful to know. Let's get started. On our channel, we talk about dementia and everything you need to know. So subscribe to stay up to date. Fish high in mercury. Marine fish is good for the brain, but only if it doesn't contain toxic metals. Large predatory fish, such as tuna, shark, king mackerel, and swordfish, accumulate mercury, which destroys nerve cells. Mercury acts as a neurotoxin. It accumulates in the brain, causes oxidative stress, and damages the myelin sheath of neurons. Studies show that people with high levels of mercury in their blood are more likely to experience cognitive impairment. Regular consumption of such fish is especially dangerous, as mercury accumulates in the body and can have long-term damaging effects on the brain. Canned foods and foods in metal cans. Canned foods often contain bisphenol A, a chemical that is used to coat the inside of cans. Studies show that BPA can negatively affect the nervous system, disrupting neurotransmitters and increasing the risk of cognitive impairment. In addition, canned foods are often high in salt and preservatives, which can raise blood pressure and impair blood flow to the brain. Canned meat and fish are especially dangerous, as they can accumulate heavy metals and oxidized fats that accelerate inflammation in the body. Vegetable oils high in omega-6. Sunflower, corn, and soybean oils contain huge amounts of omega-6 fatty acids, which in excess provoke chronic inflammation. And inflammation is one of the key factors in brain damage and the development of neurodegenerative diseases. Studies confirm that excessive consumption of omega-6 fatty acids is linked to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. The problem is that these oils are heavily utilized in processed foods, fried foods, and even in many prepared sauces. An imbalance of omega-6 and omega-3 in the diet accelerates brain aging and reduces cognitive function. Microwave popcorn. At first glance, popcorn seems like a harmless snack, but the problem lies in the chemical composition of the packaging and the additives used in the finished product. Microwave popcorn often contains diacetyl, a substance that damages neurons and has been linked to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. In addition, popcorn packaging often contains perfluorinated compounds, PFCs, which can accumulate in the body and cause inflammation. Another risk factor is artificial flavorings and trans fats, which negatively affect the blood vessels of the brain and accelerate its aging. Soy products high in phytate. Soy itself is not harmful, but in processed form, e.g., soy milk, soy protein bars, textured soy protein, it contains phytates, which interfere with the absorption of important minerals such as zinc, magnesium, and iron. A deficiency of these elements impairs brain function, reduces neuroplasticity, and may accelerate age-related changes. In addition, soy is rich in phytoestrogens, which can disrupt hormonal balance and negatively affect cognitive function, especially in older adults. Sugar and sugary drinks. The brain is dependent on glucose, but excess glucose becomes destructive to the brain. Studies show that high blood sugar levels lead to brain atrophy, especially in areas responsible for memory. People with diabetes have a 60% increased risk of developing dementia, and pre-diabetics also face cognitive decline. With constant consumption of sweet drinks, the brain literally burns out. Due to insulin spikes, its work is disturbed and a person becomes scattered, forgetful. The study proved that even one can of sweet soda a day leads to a decrease in brain volume and memory impairment. In addition, sugar triggers the process of glycation, damage to proteins and fats, which provokes inflammation and accelerates the aging of brain cells. Trans fats. Trans fats are a hidden poison to the brain. They are found in margarine, baked goods, fast food, and many processed foods. Once in the body, they increase inflammation, damage blood vessels, and block oxygen to neurons. It is proven. People with high levels of trans fats in their blood are 74% more likely to experience dementia. They also interfere with the absorption of healthy fatty acids, which are essential for brain function. As a result, a person experiences chronic fatigue, concentration problems, and cognitive impairment that eventually progresses to more serious forms. White bread and pastries made from refined flour. Simple carbohydrates act like a sugar bomb on the brain. White bread, muffins, and other baked goods dramatically raise glucose levels, leading to insulin spikes and nervous system dysfunction. People who regularly consume foods with a high glycemic index are 40% more likely to suffer from cognitive impairment. Over time, the brain stops perceiving insulin, and this is one of the key factors in the development of Alzheimer's disease. In addition, in gluten-sensitive people, wheat flour can cause inflammatory reactions in the gut, which directly affects the brain, causing brain fog, memory, and concentration problems. Processed meat. Processed meat is not only dangerous for your heart, but also for your brain. Sausages, bacon, and other processed meats contain nitrates, phosphates, and monosodium glutamate. These substances damage blood vessel walls, impair blood supply to the brain, and cause inflammation. Studies show that frequent consumption of processed meat almost doubles the risk of dementia. Monosodium glutamate is particularly dangerous. It overexcites nerve cells, leading to their death. In the long term, it reduces cognitive abilities, impairs memory, and concentration. Excessive salt intake. Salt is necessary for the body, but its excess is a hidden threat to the brain. Studies have shown that high salt intake contributes to high blood pressure, which impairs blood flow to the brain and over time leads to cognitive impairment. But most alarmingly, salt can damage the brain directly. Experiments on mice have shown that excess salt in the body reduces the production of nitric oxide, a substance needed to dilate blood vessels. This impairs blood circulation, which can trigger degenerative changes in the brain. People who consume a lot of salt are more likely to suffer from impaired memory and thinking as they age. Fried foods. Fried foods contain not only harmful trans fats, but also toxic compounds that are formed during the frying process. One of the most dangerous substances is acrylamide, which is formed when potatoes, meat, and bread are fried. Studies show that acrylamide can negatively affect the nervous system, destroying neurons and increasing the risk of degenerative brain diseases. In addition, fried foods are high in oxidized fats, which contribute to inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. People who frequently eat fried foods are more likely to experience cognitive impairment and memory decline as they age. Energy drinks and coffee in large doses. Caffeine stimulates the nervous system, but in large amounts, it becomes an enemy to the brain. Especially dangerous are energy drinks, which contain not only caffeine, but also taurine, sugar, artificial sweeteners, and synthetic vitamins. Constant stimulation of the nervous system leads to neuronal depletion, which over time impairs cognitive function. Studies show that people who abuse caffeine have increased levels of the stress hormone cortisol, and chronic stress is a factor in brain degeneration. In addition, high doses of caffeine reduce sleep quality, and lack of sleep is directly linked to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Which of these foods do you eat, and which ones have you given up? Tell us in the comments, share your thoughts. And now I really recommend you to watch another video on my channel, where I talk about how to prevent dementia and what you need to do. It's very important information. The link to the video just popped up on your screen. Be sure to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you in the video about how to prevent dementia.